everyone. Look at this. Persona Grata and Abby and Jessie, welcome.
Hello.
Yeah, now,
Bonjour.
timing, Jessie. Well done. Nice. Nice.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Jessie and Abby and I thought we'd all come on today and talk about Betwixt and Between, and neither Jess or Abby had a clue what I was talking about. So that's a very good start, isn't it?
No, between the twigs.
We have people here.
We can see their names.
So we have some.
Yeah, because we're on Persona.
Yeah, we see names. It's because on the private.
We're not in a private group, so
gotcha.
It should work.
Yeah,
hello.
That's
hello,
fantastic.
Nigel.
That's
hello,
fantastic.
Hello.
Hi. So we got some. Here we have some gorgeous people here with us. So. I think I mentioned, I don't know whether I've mentioned on this group or the other one. Hi, Vanessa, Joanna. Oh, look at everyone. Oh, Mum's there too. Dana's there. Hi, lovely to see you. So, and Sandy, it's great to see our wider community, and we really want to stay in touch with our wider community and just bring up some of the stuff that we've been noticing going on because, and Sania and Natalie, oh my God, look at all these people. They remembered the time and they're here. Yeah. And it's my parrot green, Joanna.
It does look good.
Parrot green bought it special. I'm going very into parrot at the moment, and I'm feeling very relaxed and calm because in our groups we're finding that we're going to be doing more of these groups. So I wanted to say a little bit about how they're way more effective and powerful than I expected for people and wonderful. But as we go through each part of each persona, we're finding that we move into those personas and people are getting big shocks about who they are and it's not who they thought they were. And I just suddenly wanted to wear bright green. And, of course, we're doing number 3 this week. That's Parrot 3. And I'm feeling very tolerant, very kind and tolerant, just and relaxed and easygoing and chilled. It's just not my normal way at all, is it, Jess?
I'm predicting a good week.
Yeah, I'll be kind for 1 week and then I'll dive into Nightingale. I'll be sick next week when I've got Nightingale, so I will be right.
Yeah, just need a few triggers.
So how are you both doing? How are you in yourself? Because we're noticing that the feelings that are coming up, we're betwixt and between worlds. We've had the old way of life, which is pre-pandemic, and now we're in between worlds. We're sort of slowly coming back into the world, but we haven't had enough yet of what we need to learn, as far as I'm concerned, from a Raven perspective. And there's a new way of being. And just like the people who are turning up for the groups, but actually for everyone, we are finding out starkly who we are. And it's not who we thought we were in a lot of cases. There's a lot of surprises. And the veil between worlds is very thin. And so people have had a very, very rugged week. I have had, my phone has just run hot. Trevor's happy that they have 1 week of kindness. I'm going to be so tolerant of his sparrow this week. I'm going to be just sweet and nice. I don't know whether he'd noticed yet, but I felt it inside. I might not have said anything nice, but I felt it. So here I am being the comedian. So we've had a really rugged week where people have hit some incredibly tough stuff, some really tough health stuff, potential awful diagnoses, some suicidal stuff, some devastating stuff. I've hit the line where I can't go on anymore as I was in a relationship or in a workplace or in some form or other. And some confronting stuff, our shadow default settings, our child default setting have been coming up really, really strongly. And I went into Lion strongly last week, which was incredibly critical of my work of being such an underachiever and I've nowhere near done enough and where's the numbers and it's pathetic and you're nearly 60 for fuck's sake. And hi Dale, hi Graziella, Cassie, lovely to have you. And it's funny how in these times, especially in the unknown, this is the rebirth time, the womb or tomb we've talked about. It's a hard time and a lot, but it gives room for stuff to come up. And I think core wounds are coming up and core ways of how we sabotage ourselves are coming up. Core stories that we've got to move past, core stuck bits are coming up. So can either of you relate to having hit a stuck bit or a contraction? Because when we talk about birth, we talk about contracting and expanding. You know, as birth, you go in and out. We have excitement and then there's a contraction. And our child will try to bring us back to the status quo of where we used to be. But we can't go back. Like we can't go back to pre-pandemic times. We can't go back in ourselves. So it's a rebirth time and we're all having this uncomfortable push-pull push-pull, and then some of our sabotaging negativity stuff's coming up, coping strategies. We're betwixt and between the version of who we were to who we're about to become. So, Jesse, what have you had? You had any contractions? Because you're in line last week as well, a bit, I think.
It's so funny. You and I just fall into the same ones at the same time. I got line big time this week, and I'm finding that contractions are matching up with going through each persona position each week as we're going at the moment.
Yes.
And what I've also noticed this week was that a lot of my old patterns and stories became really clear. So I could see them unfolding in front of me. And instead of just going with them, I was noticing that actually, oh, wait, I do that. That's a pattern that I've done for the last 10 years. Should I maybe try and make a different choice here? And there's been maybe 3 scenarios this week where I've caught myself in a pattern and gone, I'd actively want to do something different here. I'm going to try something new. And I think the same thing, it's been great to have Lion step up for me this week because I've had the courage to do that a little bit. Which I don't think I would have if I hadn't that Lion persona a bit. But this week, like you said, lifting the veil, I feel a lot of patterns and behaviours that I do were my eyes kind of were like,
revealed.
I can really see it now, what I'm doing and what I've continually chosen, and look where it keeps getting me. Which is huge for me because that's patterns and stuff that has been happening for the last 10 years, and I've gone, I actively want to choose a different path. Which I would not be doing without looking at the personas and doing this work at the moment.
Exactly. And I think it helps us have an acceptance of, I could hear how dark my Lion story was. It's so incredibly critical.
The stories that are coming up and they're so ingrained in childhood as well. It's the same story I've been telling myself since I was 6, if I remember. They're becoming really clear this week. It's almost like
they're very clear.
Yeah, it's been a week of almost like I can't think of the right word, but I feel like I've flushed some. That's the gross word, but it's something like that. It's like it's been a rebirth. And I've flushed old ways of thinking about myself and old behaviours and actions that I would then fall into, and they've just kind of flushed from me this week.
That's brilliant. Abby, what about you? Have you noticed any contractions? Anything in your stuff that's come up? Nothing like putting you on the spot, but I did ask Jess first.
That's fine. It's all good. It's all good. I was getting ready. No, I think mostly, but you have both a lion too, and me I have dog too. It's funny to see from a different animal perspective how it goes. But to me, I've been going. My coping mechanism were just like. Going even more on Dark Dog, I have to say, Dark Dog, even with the parrots. So I've been doing less of effort that I've been trying to do in terms of food. Let's be honest. I've been I just let go all my effort this last actually 2 weeks, and I'm just like, the whole situation is so. It's so heavy to take at some stage that I don't. There is this thing for me that is trying to be healthy for my swan that is really challenge for me. And these last 2 weeks, I just went, fuck this.
Yeah.
So it's pretty negative. Yeah, it's been too hard. It's not that it's been too hard. It's just I have a better excuse to not following it. And I just wanted to enjoy the future. And right now, I have to say, I feel a bit disconnected from the bigger
I can feel that, Abby.
From the bigger goal.
So I think people, we're seeing the lens of which people see the world as well. So I very much interpret what's going on right now in a raven way. And then we can hear a parrot way and a swan way. And we've been noticing that strongly in people, and it's made for some difficulties and some conflict because things that might not have been so obvious with the pandemic and your interpretation of all of that is quite stark. And I think we're seeing our shadow stuff. If we're having a cleansing, so we might see the swan pessimism for you, Abby, and then the dog can get lazy and the parrot can get lazy. And then what's going to happen when we hit Lion next week? I mean, you're going to be a cranky boy with yourself, darling. I'm just here to tell you. Your Lion will get crossed because it's the same old sabotaging pattern. But there is a potential right now.
That's true.
For us to have, I think in a stressful situation, and when we're triggered, and the pandemic will trigger us in different ways, and the changes and the uncertainty of future will all trigger us at different ways at different times. But we are really strongly seeing our shadows, our child default settings, our oldest favourite coping strategies, which are our top personas. They're definitely there, but they're also the brick walls that have stopped us coming forward and going to having our dreams, are they not?
Absolutely.
Comment dire, the dream. Sorry. Personally, the dream is.
I can see your cogs turning.
So could I. It's always worth waiting to see what Abby says.
I just wanted to say, personally, the dream is still there, but I don't control the way anymore. Like I said, it's a coping mechanism, and I'm sabotaging one of the things that I should have the control on, to just feel okay and compensate to feel okay with the situation. If I can say. Is that clear?
I get that, Abby. So what I'm saying is that we're all seeing stories in our heads that are excuses. Yeah. We're all seeing our avoidance tactics. But also, some people have hit some very, very painful places, and they've regressed to an age where some terrible things have happened to them.
Yeah.
Say something awful happened to you when you're 3, you're 7, you're 10, you're 15, whatever. People have unconsciously been so triggered that they've regressed back to that, and they're literally coping with life from a situation in that way. But we have the same stories, excuses, patterns, Jess, of behaviours, choices. And people have got stuck, and it's like, I'm excited, I'm learning some stuff, and then they've hit their brick walls really powerfully. And I'm saying this is the opportunity. See, get it. The child thinks, oh, this is okay. It's like short-term satisfaction for the child, but it's long-term pain. If you anytime you choose a coping strategy, you are inflicting pain on yourselves, and you are shooting yourself in the foot, and you're not fully present. You're cheating yourself. So I think we're getting an opportunity to see, oh my God, and I really saw the way my lion has undermined me and criticised me and just defeated me, and then I condemn myself in the raven, and then I can go into then off it goes. It's a domino effect. Yeah. And of course, then how beautiful I am with everybody I meet then, not a critical thought in my body.
Not at all.
Once I've done it to myself.
Someone had a comment here before, I think it was in response to you, Abby, just saying surrender and keep to yourself for a while. And that's been such an interesting thing as a parrot in isolation time for me to kind of learn to do as well, because there's a really fine line between when we have those big contractions, like you've probably been feeling, Abby, it is good to actually just, retreat for a moment, surrender, give yourself a break, give rest. We need rest, particularly when we're doing this type of work. But that fine line between resting and
avoidance
and then actually just going into our child's story. And for me, that can be very Nightingale at home, but it can also be very parrot in terms of just escaping and avoiding with drinking or doing whatever. But something about the isolation time has been really great in giving us the permission to pause, whilst helping us now, showing us that we have to navigate between the appropriate amount of rest and not slipping into the child stories that we go into, because we can do that right now, I think, in isolation.
I agree.
We can just choose to stay and disconnect. It's too hard. It's all too much. I don't want to do the work.
Disconnect is dangerous. You start disconnecting externally and not being fully present. That means there's a disconnection inside, and we set up a problem down the road. And Joanna's just said, primary raven, go to the top of the class, Joanna. It's the missing animal that we've got to do. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and I thought, oh, fuck me, where was my dog when I was being the missing dog?
Yeah.
Where was my kindness to myself when I'm feeling like the worst? I could burst into tears now, the worst underachiever. When I'm so harsh and so condemning. And where was the missing dog? Well, I forgot all about it. That's what happens. And for you guys, where's the beaver? It's like coming through with that steady. It's coming through with that steady. And then the people with missing lions, it's coming through with, I have to be brave now. I've got stuck at this point 4,003 times. I'm not going to get stuck this time. I'm not going to get fragile. I'm not going to die in confusion, and go, oh, I'm so confused, I just don't know. And then the doubting dog, the confused sparrow, the sad nightingale, because I think they can get the stuck the most in some ways, or the pessimistic swan, or the cynical owl, condemning raven, and the pretending peacock, and the overindulgent parrot. There we go. We got a few of them in there, didn't we? And the arrogant entitled lion. But it's like we've really got to draw, and it's not comfortable and it's not easy. If anyone tells me, yeah, but it's not easy, oh, it's hard, I just want to get my fry pan out and smack them. Don't ever tell me it's not easy. Yes, I'm aware that the work's not easy. Thank you. It's not easy for me either, by the way, and has not been easy to move. But that we've really, like, the antidote to the disconnect as a coping strategy and the anaesthetising that we're doing, which actually is wasting a little bit of what's coming up, is the missing animal. Every time, isn't it? And even I forget that.
Yes.
What do you reckon, Abby? What do you think?
I mean, of course. I know that if I use, I'm using myself as an example again. I know that if I put some beaver in, I can start structuring how to go forward. It's just that the effort to do it is a bit like the motivation to do the effort to put my missing animal right now, when actually my son, my number one, is a bit triggered. Like
a bit. Yeah. Sorry.
I say a bit. It's not just triggered. It's not a one-to-one triggered. Like, it's more a global trigger. Like, I'm more on the line. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Should I do all those efforts? It's not the time to do effort. I feel like everybody is not doing effort, so I've got good excuses. And I know it's shit to say that, but this is
the story.
Yeah, potentially it's gonna be all ruined in 6 months. This is how my swan think right now, because I'm naturally pessimistic, and the questioning, the blurriness, just make it so hard to have a good reason to put missing animal.
I feel the exact same, and also trying to make any plan as well. So again, missing beaver, and I go, I know I need to bring beaver in, but but I'm planning for something that I have no idea what it might look like, and we don't know because we're in there was BC before Corona, and it's going to be AC after Corona. Like, what does that world look like? And so what do we structure? Because what if that structure doesn't exist anymore? And what if we've, so I really feel that too, where I'm trying to plan ahead for the future, but what type of future do we plan for now? And it's, I have the same problem, Abby.
Thank you, Jess.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone.
And how does it
also?
Yeah, and I love all the comments that we've got here. I am noticing. Yeah, Josie, I think beaver's more missing animal than lion for you. You've come through beautifully with lion this week. So proud of you, darling. It's so great, Danny, seeing you from the UK. We did this a bit later. I actually have to say, I love doing it a bit later. It makes Sunday feel more relaxed, that I can it actually feels way better. Does it feel better for you guys as well? Later? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so Swan House, loving your community connections. Book, there we go. Hyper organising. Swan likely outburst tomorrow, and hours researching reference material. Great, Simone. Thank you for sharing that.
What is the word naked gardening? Sorry.
What is it? World Naked Gardening Day. Oh, well,
it's
obviously.
What it sounds like, Abby.
It's literal.
That's not a swan thing.
It's literal.
It's not a swan thing. It's a peacock.
I'll if you want, Abby. Do you want
to? No.
Your swan's not going to join him. Yes, your swan's not joining.
I don't know if that's.
You could do the weeding. Abby, you could do the weeding. You could do the weeding out in the backyard.
Yeah, but I keep my pants on, like it's
no.
Here.
That's not the point.
Yeah, it's more missing, and now Alison's making a good point. For me to set boundaries, I have to disconnect a little bit. So I need more missing animal. Yes, indeed. Missing animal always, whatever that may be, and we'll find out what that is later. But Scott just said, Jess, you want to make the gods laugh? Tell them your plans for the future. That is so good. Yes. That is so good. So,
I know, I feel bad. Anyway. Sarah, you guys are like, you have no plan. You can't look to your plan at the moment.
You know what? So what do we have to do? So let's work out some strategies here, some focus, because we're having a rebirth. What I've noticed this week is that I've got glimmers of how to go forward. I was totally in the unknown, totally, but trusting. In 6 months, I'll know. In 6 months, I'll know. In 6 months. But something which was actually an older idea in a new way, which I haven't even told you today yet. So, and I'm not mentioning it now, Abby, so don't worry, I'm not promising something that I won't deliver. Abby will tell me off. But I've got this idea, this sense of, okay, to fit where this world's going, the line adaptability, the being able to adapt and to take an opportunity. The Ravens able to take an opportunity and make a metamorphosis, transform. The transformation that we've got, it's about bringing what you've got, your genius. Everyone's got an inner genius. But we're going to find new ways to come to the world with our genius. And we're doing these groups, which we had no plans to do this year, did we, Abby? We were never doing it this year. It might have been a year or two later. In fact, I think you told me I could start doing them after book 4. Yeah. That's when Abby said I had permission.
That's when you were allowed.
Yes, because
I do what I'm told.
No, because it would have been like great foundation for a really complete course. That's all.
And it makes sense, and we will do something after the 4 as well. But this adaptability. So I think what we're having now is we're seeing some shadows come up. We're seeing our old excuses, old avoidance, and old disconnect. And we need to take our child in hand with the negative stories, the pessimism, the cynicism. The refusal to want to engage is actually the worst road. We've got to re-engage because our genius is saying this time was pushing pause. There's a crack in the veil so that, wow, what would you like to do? How could you do it? And if you were telling a different story that wasn't so heavy and difficult or carrying a wound that's unresolved, you may be able to flow. And I feel like I've got to a place of peace today and this last couple of days after hitting the dark line for a fortnight where I can see how to go forward, and I just feel this trust, which obviously is parrot this week. Next week when I'm in Nightingale, I probably won't have it. But I'm saying that's where I am at the moment.
You enjoyed today. And that's, speaking of that as well, there's something that I thought of earlier this week as well is if we can't be planning and we can't see what to do next, that also what we can be doing is like we're stepping into bird age and it's bird time. Yeah. And something that we will be doing now is investing in our birds to some degree.
Definitely.
Bringing our missing animals into it too. But, something that I realise is, that in the beaver age and now and with everything that's happening, our birds get squashed a lot because we have to conform to, what we have to do in the beaver world. But something we can be doing right now in this time, and especially when you have no beaver, it's great. We can maybe be investing in our birds and because that's what actually needs to come forward in the new world. We need to step away from all of that beaver structure. We need some of the foundation, but it's our time for all of our birds. They're the ones that have our gifts and our contributions in them. And maybe that's what we should be doing in this moment. That came to me,
It's brilliant.
As we were talking.
It is bird age and bringing the light of the bird, but not the dark of the bird. Not pessimism and cynicism. It's finding a way of what feels true to me, what's my contribution, which everyone's got a genius to do. Nigel just said, does bringing out our missing personas require us to move our top 3 personas into adult elder? Well, I would say that the missing animal, just the animal, not all the other person, not your whole moon, because we're going to do that in term 2, but your missing animal helps you to put your top 3 into adult elder.
It balances it. It brings balance.
That's the magic ingredient, isn't it, Abby?
Yeah. I really also want to say you have to make sense of the decision you make and be sure that the decision you make ain't based on a triggered reaction. If you decided to go for something that is coming from a dark place because you felt jealous of someone doing something and you want to do it better than them.
Yeah.
If you don't do it for yourself and what it means for you, it's going to be, I think, really hard to put your missing animal in. The best way for me to put your animal in is to be clear with yourself and kind of understand the value of what you're targeting
Mm.
through your bird's genius, of course.
It has to have your full heart and passion in it. Otherwise, you won't really be able to bring that missing, because it's missing.
Exactly.
So it's not innate to you. It's not natural. But
is.
we can learn it and we can bring it in when our heart's in it. But if the heart's not in it,
that's why. No. And if we do disconnect, and I've been doing disconnect too, like I've been going into my little addiction. If we do disconnect, you're not going to get in touch with your passion and genius. It's some part of it's going to be left neglected, and then there's going to be an outlet for that where you do other self-sabotaging stuff, like eating the wrong food. I say to Abby, to Trevor, go and get some, cheesecake or something, to have a little treat. Where's my icy pole? Those ones that I like eating, the Coke, the charcoal that I like.
Yes.
And so what I noticed was I was spending hours and hours and hours doing a jigsaw, which I actually love because it's all minute stuff and putting the pieces together. But in some way, it was an avoidance and numbing. But it's also like I've had enough of that now. I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm not putting all that time in. I'm going to go and start doing some other stuff that I want to do. But it's like I needed that as a respite as we birthed the work, which was very much more powerful than I expected, because people are really, I think these times are about facing and really seeing who we are, not who we'd like to be, who we think we might be, who we hope to be, but actually this is me, warts and all. And we are all triggered by the pandemic, and so our shadows are coming out and we're having to see our ugliness, our sabotaging stuff, and we're wanting to go into all the old stuff, and we will have numbed ourselves in certain ways, avoided in certain ways. But that disconnect, while we need respite, there's a fine line between a bit of a rest, but then disconnect is dangerous.
Absolutely.
And I feel like I've come back now. Yes, please do.
Just a little image that I was doing to put it just another way. With what's happening now, it's like everything we build, the structure we have to just manage our life going forwards, getting money, surviving, is redefined. We cannot use it anymore, and it seems like everything we kind of build, the knowledge, the daily routine, and also the assets, is kind of here and not proactively going the way that we were going before COVID. So right now, I think what we're saying is it's potentially the time to see how we can turn what we created, or how to create new assets, new things in our lives, to go in a direction that could make us happier. This is the occasion to do that, like the COVID.
Yes,
exactly.
That's the bird age.
Yeah.
This is the time to get more in alignment with your genius, and it's about not disconnecting. It's about connecting with that, and how might I be able to create and express and find a way to make that work.
Do you know what's also been happening with me this last week that has made me think about this? But I've been noticing everyone's always a mirror to us. Everyone is a mirror to ourselves. But I'm noticing that so much this week, and particularly it's even bigger. And people that are triggering me and stuff that's triggering me, it's such a honest, reflective mirror back to myself. I've noticed that really heavily this week. That it's like it's almost like you manifest it, and you ask for it, because any issues and confrontations I've had coming up, I've been noticing. I've been bringing people in, and then they've just been mirroring what it is that I'm needing to, sort of work on. And a lot of it has been parrot stuff as well. But I wonder if that's been a theme for anyone else this week too. Because the veil coming off I've seen it in other people, but they've just been offering me a reflection. That is so strong for me this week.
Someone already mentioned that. Natalie mentioned it. She's a Raven Swan. I listen to what Natalie says every time. And she said, the reflections are huge, and also ancient memories and life memories, like some core painful memories, can be coming up for people. And they've been triggered, and we're not aware that they're playing in the background, but they're very much there. And it needs to be seen now. So when the veil comes off, we see everything. Yeah,
and it's an opportunity. And that's what I mean as well about this week going, I've been given the chance to, it's like fork in the road moments where here's the story I've been told, here is a person, or here is a type of thing which you would normally fall into, here's a this, that. Do you make the choice that you've always done and you know where you end up? Or do you do you choose to take that different walk? And actually, I can hear my child parrot this week, and I've been pissing myself. Like, he is so funny. The shit he tries to tell me, the justifications for stuff. I'm like, mate, like that is not, you know. He can come up with some crackers, but I've been hearing them.
I used to have to listen to them.
Yeah, exactly. Off by heart. But I could hear it now, and now I just laugh at it, and I go, no, we're not taking that path. We're making a different choice here. And it's like this week's been that opportunity, and the universe has been throwing reflections and throwing opportunities for me to choose different. But if I'm not aware to it, I just keep going through the pattern, and I keep choosing the same story. This week has been a really active. It's been huge for old stories for me personally, but it feels like
I agree.
People.
I agree, and it's about hit them, hear them hard, see them, feel the contraction and where they take you, which is not good, or the disconnection coming, or the self feels revolting, and then step up and go, this is the point of right now, and this is what rebirth or reinvention of ourselves and our whole world is about. And the feminine way, you know, to bring in the heart first. If we're going to the feminine, it can't be about disconnection.
No.
How we got it so wrong was by being disconnected.
Yes. And I'm tired of ending up at the same place. I reached a breaking point this week where I went, like, I'm just so sick of ending up in the same spot. And I know I come back here, but I still in the moment choose that child thing, because, again, short-term gain, but then it's the long-term pain. And then the future, and a parrot is not good at looking in the future. So I'm always like, future Jesse will deal with that. And future Jesse looks back and he's like, past Jesse, you asshole, like, you set me up for this, you know. And I'm just so tired of repeating the pattern. And this week I got sick of it, and I think it was very lion, and it was like, no, let's choose something different for the first time in our 20 years of being a child.
That's fantastic. Abby, you were relating to that. Can you share what you were relating to that with Jesse?
No, like I'm really relating to the getting tired of doing the same, let's say, mistakes, but say always seeing, like you said, you can take different direction, and I can see myself literally take this direction, be like, I'll go in this dark alley, it's okay. And then when you come out of it, you're just like, oh, I shouldn't have eat this cake. This is how I relate to it. But
yes. See, but it is like that on little things to everything, but it's very much the stories that we tell and the excuses and the avoidance that we have.
Oh, and it's a child. You can hear it. Honestly,
totally a child.
I could hear this little 5-year-old Jesse being like, just fucking do it, dickhead. You know, just like, you can hear him. And I'm like, no, you sound like you're onto it, but I'm so sick of where I end up because of you. And I'm not mad at you. You're all good, but we're just going to have a giggle. And it's the driving the bus analogy, Mum. That I love that one, where it's like I can hear myself and picture myself, and it's little parrot Jesse being a dickhead behind the wheel, just going like, fuck yeah, going 100 down the freeway. And then I have to be like, nobody, like, adult Jesse's going to drive the bus now. You get back in the passenger. I do that like 40 times a day in my head. I have to get back in the driver's seat. And it works really well, actually, that visualization, because you can feel the child parrot driving you off the cliff, you know, and the adult has to take over. And I can hear the scripts really well this week.
That's great, and hopefully other people are starting to hear their scripts really well, and not just say, "Oh, it's really hard. I'm just really confused. I just really doubt." Well, then ask yourself, what persona's talking?
Yeah.
Yes, Abby.
Is it possible that I actually just put my triggers on? Like I put what make me react from my swan to my dogs, so my swan don't get the triggers. What is dark swan stuff, and more damaging than the dog dark stuff. Is that possible that I decided to put my reaction to a trigger to the dog because it's easiest to deal with it from a dog perspective than a swan perspective?
Well, does it depend on what triggers you though, as well? Does it depend on the trigger what persona is then going to be triggered, I suppose, to some degree?
Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, so let's have an example. Let's expose Abby, ambush him, and have him expose
him.
Brilliant.
Clairement, it's doing
You're in Paris.
it's doing beaver work. It's because I've been organizing stuff, and the paranoia it gave to my swan is just. I've been seeing like a lot of people missing link, not having the right link, and I know that I didn't manage it correctly, and it made me really freak out. It's not something that I'm really good at.
Well,
I'm sorry about that for people. So people from the group 2020 Vision know what I'm talking about, and I'm okay with it. But literally, if I keep the trigger on my swan,
Yeah.
I could have dropped it.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
literally, my
Oh,
swan could have been
absolutely.
like, "F that, never again," and I could disappear, like completely disappear. And this is not something that I want to do. If I did that, is also because I wanted this group to happen. It was really interesting. There is a lot of good reason to do it, but having to deal with the management have been quite triggering. So
Yeah.
yeah. This is where it's coming from. I can
It
see
makes
now.
total sense. And that's
So,
why
Abby,
it's good for us, I think.
it is, but for you to go into that and see how paranoid and critical your swan gets, like you carve yourself up for dinner. You are really, and your secret line, you are so super critical. But then, because you
Yeah.
don't want to upset me or whatever, or if it be even for something else, you're
Even
going to dog,
group,
tone
the
it
group.
down, or the
Yeah,
group. Yeah, your dog doesn't want to be unpopular, so you go into dog and
yeah.
parrot as a way of coping with food or with alcohol or with I just can't be bothered or I'll do something else, I'll do computer games. But it's actually in response to this really venomous, terrible criticism that you give yourself, which is what I was just talking about with my lion being so critical of being a massive underachiever. Like that, it is just so cute. These are the stories we have to let go of now.
Yeah. And that's
What do you
why
think, Abby?
C'est
Look
compliqué,
at
hein? It's
c'est compliqué. Oh, I
complicated.
like that.
look at me, I held it in.
If I just go in my head and just be like, no, everything is gonna be fine. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to work.
Yeah, but it will be. Isn't that funny? So Abby's saying, if I let go of that criticism because it's so familiar and that's my normal way, the child thinks if I don't cope by being like that to myself, ambushing myself that way, really, really in a horrible way, you then think, oh, well, the world will fall over. And that's what child coping mechanisms are all about. They're our survival mechanisms that a 4-year-old decided was a good idea, and they come from our history and they come from how we died. Now, Abby, if you miss a link, we still love you and the world won't end. You
No,
know,
Nancy.
but this story that if
Yeah.
I stop that I'm not safe is really interesting because we've all got that with our
Okay.
coping mechanisms. It's like if I let go of that, that's what I'm used to. But I'm saying that's what has to be let go of.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Like your messages, and even when I was doing the mistake and apologizing, you all been really supportive and nice with me.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I have to say, it really made me feel better. And don't worry, I'm okay. I'm not gonna go in depression. Don't worry. I'm just but I can see how I'm hard on myself because I don't want to make any mistake, even if I'm ready to be stupid sometimes and being a parrot. I don't want to do. I don't want to. Yeah. I can see the whole
And
story.
see, that's that lion. That's that
I
bloody
can.
secret lion
I can
coming
see the
in,
whole
being
story
really
now. I can see
critical.
the whole
And the
story.
swan is awful. The swan is so
As
awful to it.
as someone that I've learned everything, all my skills, all the things that I know, I learned them by myself. I mean, I learned it on internet and by my own time. School didn't bring me much. School just bring me a way of learning things and also learning how to forget things. Literally, that's what school have been for me. So I always came from like an underdog place, and I really want to. Maybe I think I want to prove that I can still not be an underachiever. I want to be
Oh,
proud of what I do, and seeing that I can make mistakes on from a plane where someone that have been a good student, people that are in my moon, would have managed that really easily. And seeing that it's not where I'm good at, it's really triggering. I think this is the whole story now. I can see it.
Now, and isn't this great? We're having this conversation today because you are both realizing stuff that if we hadn't turned up today, you wouldn't have got to this level.
No.
And you would feel the heaviness still, Abby, because you're dealing with judging yourself against your moon.
C'est ça.
You're judging yourself against your moon.
But also, it's the image of my moon. It's not even a direct moon. It's what I see from the moon, like the pressure of this thing saying that you're a loser. It's not even here. I don't have people saying like, "Oh, man, no, you're shit." I don't have.
No,
that.
but it's in your head.
But it's here. Here. Thank you, people. Like,
Abby, have a look at all the comments. Abby,
I really don't like having the attention. But really,
Abby, you're wonderful. We love you. Abby, you're so smart.
I'm hoping. I'm being honest. Like I said, I cannot not be honest here.
Abby, I like
but it's wonderful because
I like the way you say moon, Abby.
Moon.
Say it again.
Moon.
Something about that. Moon.
So, Jesse, coming back to you, you've done very well. Your parrots want to jump in 3 times, and you've been very, very good.
Cool. Oh, I'm gonna blush. Really
Abby, go and read all the lovely comments while we hear that.
Please.
But I think we've got a theme coming up in this betwixt and between where things aren't solid. Dale talked about how hard it is for young people, like Dale's feeling for her kids in their 20s, early 20s. Wow, the world's different than it was when Dale and I were in our 20s and we were doing what we were doing. We shared a house together and saying it's hard for these kids because the structure's not there, but I don't see it that way. No. I think this time where it is unknown, there's a chance to reinvent yourselves and be more true to yourselves. Absolutely. And to find out what really matters and what energizes you and what really works. And we're all hitting the sabotage that we're hitting, what all 3 of us have talked about. You're talking scripts. I'm talking about hideous condemnation and self-criticism that I have been, which has been there, is always there. But I really saw it this last 2 weeks and I'm putting it in the bin. Abby, you're naming yours today. Yeah. And there's no room for that. For us to go forward in the bird age, you can't take those stories with you. They have to go now. They're old. They're of the past. They're the pre-pandemic. Jess, you're talking about that too. But I see it as an opportunity for young ones. What do you think as a person of that age group, Jess?
Absolutely. And the thing is that I think people are born for the times they're in. So the kids coming through now, and even many years ago, I learned about like indigo children and stuff. So they're all kind of all of that type of concept of idea of this new wave of kids coming through. But they are born for the bird age. And I'm a youth worker in school, and the old ways of doing it don't work. And I think I'm 25, 26 this year. I think I was right on the cusp of that last wave of the beaver age kids generation and that new bird spiritual age of kids coming through. And ever since I was little, and what I've seen coming through now is the kids are so different to what the world is, for the way that we've created the world. The way that we've created the world now is not sustainable in clearly so many ways in terms of economic and climate and all of that stuff. But kids can't live in it. Kids don't understand. That's why we have so many kids with so many learning disabilities and having to medicate, and because we're pushing them into a system that they're not built for. And when we look at some younger kids' personas, we're also finding that some kids are coming through with mainly just birds. They don't even have animals in their top 6.
So have one. Yeah, one animal, mate.
And so they're missing 2 animals. And so for them, a structured society like this that we've built, it doesn't make sense to them. And they're innately and naturally going to show us how to be in this age. And part of what needs to happen now, and Bernie Sanders is someone that's great for that, is we need to handball it to the kids now, because what needs to happen, we don't, the current systems and the current way of thinking, it's not going to work for them, and it's not going to work for this next gen. They need to take the reins now, because they are born to be in this time. And that's why it's the bird time, it's the bird revolution. That's why our part to play, all of us, is finding out what our contribution from our birds is, and tapping into that and giving that to the broader tapestry of the story.
Exactly.
Of
Exactly. This time in this shake-up is actually to set your genius free.
Yes.
That's a way of looking at it. But you have to go through the muck and the discomfort and insecurity and instability, to let it come through like a genie in the bottle.
Yes, and what the elders of our society can do, you and the other adults, the gift you can give back to us and the younger generations is how to bring our animals in as well, because we are not innately built understanding how to do the discipline, the structure, the way it feels like we're different to that, but we can't also survive without the foundation of making some forms of structure, some forms of routine, having discipline. These are all things that don't come innately to me and to many,
And resilience. Yeah, and even resilience. Yes. The lion is resilience. Yeah. I think the result, this work, we so desperately want to get it into schools as emotional intelligence and values education. We so desperately
emotional learning program for schools. The persona language should be a cell program that you can have.
I'm dropping data out. It could be a good podcast subject, like really good, I think.
Which one, Abby?
Like how to rethink with
education?
the birds, how to rethink education through a personal perspective, just like we're not all the same and we don't learn things the same way. And even if I personally, I don't know if we can change school. Even if we can,
we can,
but we can improve, not make it. I don't know how is school have to be the answers for everybody.
Yeah,
that's my question.
I think the answer somewhat lies within the identification of that we're not all the same. And if you have something like the persona language and the persona understanding to back that type of stuff up, you wouldn't teach a swan the same way a sparrow.
Exactly.
And if you've got that understanding, and that's something that's great that's come through this isolation time, is we've realized as a school system, you actually can do that. The only thing that's been lacking is political will, basically. We absolutely can reach kids where they are. If they need to be at home because they have such insane anxiety and they can't be at school, you can get your education at home. You can, if you need to, there are different ways of doing it. And what we were always told we couldn't do it another way. Isolation has shown us you absolutely can do stuff other ways if you've got.
I agree.
True.
I agree. And thanks, Desley. Desley saying all guidance officers and schools should understand the personas. My vision this week that I'm going to share a little bit is that it's going to be a grassroots movement, the persona language.
Has to.
That it's going to be grassroots where we've got these. I just love this community so much. I was talking to someone today and saying, when I knew this stuff and would think about it, and I'd just barrage my family and poor Trevor every night before he went to bed. I've just realised this about personas, and I had no one else to talk to about it. But to have this community now, we're all speaking the language. We've got to a depth and a quality and an understanding and seeing ourselves even last fortnight far more accurately than ever before. And I can just feel this grassroots moving out. And we're going to keep offering more and more resources, but there's going to be people who step up within the community saying, I'm going to help with the education side. I'm going to help with the environmental side. I'm going to help with mentoring men, where we have this men's conversations groups over here. I'm going to help with kids' creativity, but with a persona understanding as the foundation. Where we get stuck, we understand it from, well, this was this persona and this was that persona, and it as a parenting tool and as an understanding tool for negotiation. It's just, you get so much acceptance when we can look at it and go, well, that was my dark lion and raven in combination. That was my dark swan. That was where I went to here. And there's no judgment, but we get to it so quickly. Or my sparrow got so hysterical and wound up and just brought everything in my life to a halt. Just to be able to see that, it doesn't have to be changed. It just is. Yeah, mental health. This is emotional intelligence. And so I think the work is about, we have this amazing community and it's growing, and never quickly enough for my line, but now I'm actually going to put that idea in the bin and just trust implicitly when I can on a good day that as we're growing and learning this and it's incubating and it's in the pregnancy and there's, the womb, we're going to grow it further and we're going to grow it further. And we're going to find our way in the next coming years for people to be able to do what their passion is, but have this as a basis. And that really excites me. That's a parrot idea if ever there was one, Jess.
You've just been talking parrot all day and I'm so here for it. I'm like, you can read my diary.
I know. Wait till next week. I won't sound like that.
No.
So what are your thoughts, Abby?
Non, mais tout, je veux dire, we need to be able to understand who we teach to, en fait. As a system, when who we address the knowledge, you know, how we need to understand how different people can understand and absorb knowledge. What do they need? We don't need all the same thing. The person are here to
They don't
teach
need the
us
same.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone is gonna have a better physical learning than a word learning. Someone is gonna have a picture learning more than an audio learning, and we all are different, and this is why. Yeah,
We've actually got to teach from the 7 birds. We can't teach it one way. We can't teach it beaver way. We've actually got to teach from the 7 birds' perspectives and mentor every bird from child to adult to elder.
Yes.
And what we're seeing a lot of with the pandemic is we're seeing a lot of ancient historic perspectives and interpretations of what's going on, which can in fact hold us back. And I'm talking all 7 birds. But we've got that's coming up. It's coming up. But there's 7 ways. Everything we ever do from this point on is going to have to meet the 7 birds, with all of us learning how to have that foundation of the lion, beaver, and dog underneath as our foundation. So interesting. So we've just I've just got excitement and trust that it's grassroots, where we keep putting this stuff out, and we're going to train people more effectively. And I think we'll do it next year, Abby. We're going to do a year-long persona coaches course. I haven't told you that, but I'll just announce it now, so you can have a heart attack. But I can really see I want to really go deep, and even that's going to be barely enough time.
Depends how much beaver I need to put in.
But won't you feel good when you've learned how to do it? It doesn't stress you out anymore, and you just laugh when you make mistakes because we don't care.
Yeah, if I have some cake, I should be all right.
Exactly. We'll have some cake. So we're betwixt and between. And we're going up and down, and we're resting, and then we're numbing, and then we're avoiding, and then our shadow's coming out, and then we're having insights into ourselves that we might not want to look at. But it's actually a shake-up to let the real us come through now. A new, bigger, a new richer version of ourselves come through. What was that, Jess?
So I was just going to say, it's an invitation. That's how I have perceived it this week.
Yes.
We are being invited by the universe to shake it up a little bit if we want to. But the choice is on us, But the invitation's there.
Yes, the invitation now is for this. So, it's actually been lovely to talk about this really, really well today. How are you feeling?
I mean,
after this, when neither of you felt maybe particularly energized and excited. How? And I'm not that I'm exposing you here in any way, shape, or form.
Please do. I learnt a new word. Hey, Abby, Betwixt.
Yeah, Betwixt. Yeah. Sounds like a biscuit.
Yeah,
I'd never leave my dog. I'm so much in the dog zone. I can't.
Yeah. Somebody said chalky.
Can I also mention, just with that, Abby, when you said, I go to the dog, we're finding out that a lot of people have, sometimes their number 2 can smother or repress their number 1 and dominate and get in the way of it. And you hide in dog because it's more acceptable than if you went into dark swan, because, that might not be attractive if you were too dark swan. So it's like you slip into that dog as a sort of an unconscious protection.
Yeah, I think after what we just talked about, I think I have a lot of thought to have now. I'm just going to try to take some time and think about what's going on a bit in my head. And I can see this is going to clear the cloud, because I'm actually in a cloud today. Like, when I say cloud, it's more like smoke. I can't see really far, let's say.
Okay. And that's how I was until a couple of days ago. And then something was confirmed to me, and it's just, but instead of just getting excited, I just felt this deep calm. That's what's there. So I reckon, seriously, for everyone, while we've had this unknown, we're going to go into unknown again. I think this year is going to be about periods of unknown, but there will be glimmers of direction where if you really listen, it sits so deeply right within. And you'll go, yeah. And then there's fog again. Yes, Joanna. Then there's fog. And then it's, And it's like helping you start to build on that, but don't bring the self-criticism and the child coping mechanisms and child terrible negative self-talk. We're not going to be able to evolve to the best version of ourselves and bring that with us, or our disconnect strategies. It's just not going to work. So it's very helpful to be conscious of that today, don't you think, Jess?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, just surrender to it today a little bit, Abby, and then get back on the horse tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I feel it too. Like, I'm just not fully here today, and you know what? That's okay. I'm gonna. It's Sunday, buddy.
It's Sunday.
It's Sunday.
But we all have that, don't we? We all have that in and out.
Have a bit of cake, buddy.
Yeah, I already. Eden made a banana bread.
Yes, bitch. Eden.
She's the best. So, my darlings, how do you feel? How do you feel now as we finish up? What's the feeling inside? So you haven't been fully flipped on, but was it good for you guys to talk through this today?
It always is, and I think I'll speak a little bit for Abby and I here as both having no beavers. It's really good that we show up. Like, that's the most radical form of self-love that we can do for no beavers, you know, is to, because I could come up with any excuse under the sun to not show up and probably get away with it each time, but that only betrays me. So the fact that we keep pushing ourselves to show up, even on the days we don't, we always get something good out of it. And it's just, and that to me as well, it's another choice moment of, do I choose to keep betraying myself by going, it's too hard, or do I push myself and show up when I don't even feel like I don't want to? And every single time you're grateful for it, you know, and you've shown up for yourself each time, I think, which is the most important.
And I think that's a message in this betwixt and between time. We need to show up for ourselves now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Don't let the child drive. We need to show up for ourselves, and we need to have the courage to feel the growing pains.
Yeah.
Some pains are coming up, emotional pain for people, physical pain. And when we're in pain, it does trigger the child, Jay. So, but if you can surrender and trust it and know there's always messages, they are messengers. Pain is a messenger. And get through to the other side of it. Don't let that get you stuck, because that will be the child's way of saying, oh, you're growing too fast and putting the handbrake on.
Yeah. And we're
going through that. Go through that.
We know where the other choice takes us, you know. I think that's what's happening a bit. It's just, I mean, I think it's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. I think about that all the time, because it's just, I know what not showing up does for me. I know where that.
Yeah.
And like we said, Abby, like, I'm just kind of sick of ending up in that place. And even just us showing up today, that's already that step in that right direction, and building that foundation, bringing the beaver in, you know. And for me, that radical act of self-love today was just to show up.
Like, what about you, Abby?
No, I just wanted to add to what Jess said. Like, I heard in a really shit exercise, like physical sport video on YouTube, a good decision leads you to another one.
God, we're so wise today.
Yeah, so wise. And at the same time, you're just doing sport, like, okay. Just to me, like, yeah. Being positive, you have to be positive to be able to not go on the wrong way. So try to at least have one positive thought, take one positive decision for yourself.
Yes.
And you can try to get out of the wrong direction.
Yeah, and then it snowballs.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
Yeah. Just make one. It's like when you don't want to get up in the morning, but you do, and you go brush your teeth. Like that's
do a U-turn.
Snowballs.
Exactly.
Do a U-turn to get yourself back on where you know you really need to go.
Yeah.
Do a little U-turn. It's a little step and a little step at a time. But the pain will come up. Our child, we should expect, is going to put up a bit of a good defense and try to keep us in the same small place, the familiar place, but those days have gone. So we can have a battle where the child can have a huge repertoire of how to stop us. A kind, steady, and brave. It's like use all the missing animals. Be kind to yourself, but be steady and step up, show up, and be brave. And just keep those words coming through. Kind, steady, brave. These times are an invitation to set your genius free in how you're going to help take the world to a new place. That's where we are. We're betwixt and between, but that's what we're birthing. And birthing is always quite painful. Ask anyone who's given birth to a baby. All right, my darlings. It's so lovely to have you both here. Thank you for showing up.
Love ya.
It was a real pleasure. It's always good. And,
and if anyone
we
wants
have an
to
awesome,
let me
awesome
know.
group.
Hey?
No, I just wanted to send my love to everyone. They're also lovely and they're good.
We love the whole game.
In 2020, having a chat that is not trolling is something that doesn't exist. So yeah, you are all beautiful people.
A fantastic group. This community just is so enriching for all of us.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, what does my soul want to? It's so lovely, or everyone there. If there's any people who are watching this video who didn't get to do this first lot of 2020 vision groups where you find your map, let me know if you would like to be on the waiting list for the next lot. At some point when there's a space, we'll do another lot. And but I just need to have names down in first in best dress. So just let me know, and we'll start slowly building a waiting list for people who might be really keen. So, are you laughing, Abby, at that?
Yeah, because I can't see what is going to happen tomorrow, and some people have to take decisions for October.
That bloody swamp pessimism. Can I shoot your swan? Can I shoot your swan? Can the next couple of weeks, Abby, can you put your swan in the bin and I'll... Oh, thank God. Bring out the parrot, and then next week when you're in Lion Raven, we'll have a discussion about the future, and then you can contract back to the swan another day. I'm not talking to the swan about the future. I refuse. Point blank.
C'est compliqué. It's complicated.
It's complicated. He always says that.
It's my favorite.
I have a great idea, and he goes, no, it's complicated. No, c'est impossible. We cannot do this. You have not thought about it. Where is the structure? But we're still doing it. Anyway, my darling, it will happen. It's organic. The feminine way, the bird way is organic. It's actually organic, and it's about adapting to the rivers and the moons and where we're going. And we're going to get, Dale gets you. Everyone gets you. So everyone said lots of lovely comments to Jess and Abby. And on that note, how great you both are.
Shut up.
You have to open up, Katie. You have to open up. Where's your dog?
I'm kidding.
Nothing would be possible
before she goes. Just, even it out.
I know.
Give us some
I know. How lucky am I to work with my son and son-in-law? I'm the luckiest woman in the world. I tell you what, I'm so blessed. Love you guys. I know you didn't want to come today, but I'm really glad you did.
We love you.
Always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. We always have so much fun. So we probably will be here next week. We'll see how we go, everyone. We see how we go, and take care. Be really observant of the opportunity that's here for you to shift out of the old patterns, because that's where we are. That's where we are. All right, my darlings, look after yourselves.
Love you all.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.